Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel. This is Josie's Point of View, where we focus on human interest stories from the Carolinas and beyond. Today's Tuesday and it's February the 6th, 2024. Thank you so much for tuning in. If you're new to my channel, thank you so much for stopping by. I hope you find the information here to be informative. And if you're a returning viewer, by all means, thank you for coming back. You know, I always say the tide changes so frequently here on these YouTube streets. So you always have to acknowledge where your support comes from. And I want you to know I sincerely thank you for your support. Feel free to like and to share this video. And don't forget to subscribe. And our story today takes us to Fort Moore, located in Columbus, Georgia. Take a look at the headline. And it reads, Paying Tribute to 3 Service Members Killed in Jordan. I'll provide you with a summary here, and as always, I'll place links to a few of the full articles in the description box. As we begin our video, I want to remind my audience that the name Fort Moore is still new to most of us, but it's the base we grew up knowing as Fort Benning. Now, there's still a lot of confusion with the new name, so keep in mind Fort Moore is the new name for Fort Benning, and it was last spring when the name was officially changed from Fort Benning to Fort Moore. So that's our history lesson for today. In short, Fort Moore is formerly Fort Benning. I decided to develop this video to honor 3 Army reservists from Georgia who were recently killed in a drone attack in Jordan on January the 28th. Now, it has bothered me that this story has not received the attention I believe it deserves. Now, outside of Georgia, the media coverage has been weak or lukewarm, to say the least. And since I do not make videos that are political in nature, I've decided to use my platform to honor and to introduce these 3 brave warriors who lost their lives while defending our nation overseas. So our focus today is on the 7th 18th Engineer Company, which is part of the 922nd Engineer Battalion located at Fort Moore in Georgia. Now, the 718th has been deployed to Jordan in support of Operation Inherent Resolve. They had been there for several months, and that's part of a peacekeeping mission. Now, the 718 is made up of soldiers who are trained to deploy on short notice with a mission to build roads, landing fields, and other protective barriers in support of the military's mission, of course. So this time the assignment was in Jordan. It was not a well-publicized mission, but it was in Jordan. The company was assigned to Jordan, and the soldiers, along with other coalition forces, were assigned to a small U.S. base known as Tower 22. And Tower 22 is a base for U.S. helicopters in northeast Jordan, and their location was just a few hundred yards from the Syrian border. But we all understand that no peacekeeping mission is without a certain level of risk, and that was all made clear to us on the morning of January the 29th when we learned that an unmanned drone had attacked Tower 22, leaving death and destruction behind. We learned that 3 American service members had been killed and a few dozen more had been injured, and some of those injuries were very serious. And back home, we prayed as we waited for the news, not really knowing who would be affected, but already having confirmation that some of our neighbors would be experiencing a serious sense of loss. We waited and offered our prayers for comfort and support for the families, knowing that the release would eventually become public, but only after the immediate family of the deceased had been notified, and it seems as if we had been waiting a lifetime for more information. But one day later, we learned that all 3 deaths were from the 718th Engineering Company, a unit assigned to Fort Moore, Georgia. And shortly thereafter, we saw the pictures, and we were able to match the names with the faces. And it simply broke our heart, and that made it ever so personal. The 3 deceased soldiers were identified as Sergeant William Jerome Rivers, age 46, living in Carrollton, Georgia; Specialist Brianna Alexandra Moffett, age 23, of Savannah, Georgia; and Specialist Kennedy Layden Saunders, age 24, of Request, Georgia. And in their honor, I want to devote the remainder of this video to introducing these three brave service members to you, my YouTube audience. I won't be discussing retaliation methods or strikes on targets, or rather, I won't be talking about what's going on in the Middle East at all. I am focusing strictly on these three soldiers and honoring them for their sacrifice to this nation. So let's meet them one by one. So let's begin with the most senior of the three, Sergeant William Jerome Rivers, age 46, a Philadelphia native living with his family in Carrollton, Georgia at the time of his death. He had served in the reserves for over a decade. Sergeant Rivers, a husband and father of a teenage son, first enrolled in the reserves in 2011 while living in New Jersey, and his MOS was an interior electrician. And at the time of that assignment, or his initial enlistment, he was assigned to the 990 Engineering Company at Fort Dix McGuire in New Jersey. He completed a 9-month tour to Iraq in 2018, and he had only recently been assigned to Fort Moore in Georgia. In fact, the report stated that he joined that unit sometime last year. His awards and decoration include the Army Achievement Medal, Armed Forces Reserve Medal, National Defense Service Medal, the Global War on Terrorism Service Medal, 2 Reserve Component Overseas Training Ribbons, and the Inherent Resolve Campaign Medal with Campaign Star. His widow described her husband as a hard worker, someone who was always smiling, always happy, someone who always took care of his family, and as already mentioned, he has a teenage son. Now, after his death, he was promoted to the next highest rank, and that is Staff Sergeant. And in his honor, flags in the states of New Jersey, Philadelphia, and Georgia were all lowered to half staff in his memory, a gesture in appreciation of his military service and personal sacrifice. Next, we have Army Specialist Kennedy L. Saunders, age 24, a native of Waycross, Georgia. She graduated from Ware County High School in 2017, and her love for the military began right there in that high school where she was a member of the school junior ROTC program. Now, Specialist Saunders enlisted in the reserve in 2019 as a horizontal construction engineer. I hope you heard me correctly. While 19-year-olds her age, her peers were out there hanging out and enjoying life, this young woman, she enlisted in the reserve as a horizontal construction engineer specialist. Her mom told the news media that she volunteered for the Middle East assignment because of her desire to see the world. And get this was not her first deployment. She had already completed another deployment to Kuwait. And this is just so remarkable. I could only imagine the life experiences she gathered along the way. At home, Specialist Sanders assisted with the coaching of soccer, children's soccer, and basketball teams. She also worked as a pharmacy while taking college courses to become an X-ray technician. This young woman was loved and admired by many. Her mom told the media she was always laughing and smiling, and her only desire was to enjoy life and to see the world. She told her mom that one of the things she really wanted to do was to purchase a motorbike, another a testament of her sense of adventure. Her awards and decorations include the National Defense Service Medal, the Global War on Terrorism Expeditionary Medal, the Global War on Terrorism Medal, the Army Service Ribbon, the Army Overseas Ribbon, and the Armed Forces Reserve Medal with the M device. And that's an honor in itself because the M device signifies that she is qualified for a medal without having the required time in service. By all accounts, this young woman was on a fast track to a successful military career, and she too was promoted to the next highest rank after her death. So she will be forever known as Sergeant Kennedy L. Saunders. And then we have Specialist Brianna Alexandria Moffett, age 23, of Savannah, Georgia. She was the oldest of 4 siblings, and she celebrated her 23rd birthday just 8 days prior to her death. She attended Windsor Forest High School, where she excelled in math and reading. She served as a drum major and was also enrolled in junior ROTC. And upon graduating from high school in 2019, she enlisted into the reserves, and like a comrade, Sergeant Saunders, she too was trained as a horizontal construction engineering specialist. Make no mistake, ladies and gentlemen, these young women These young women were doing remarkable things in a foreign land. They were trained to maneuver huge trucks and other heavy equipment. Now, she was initially assigned to another reserve unit, and like her friend Sergeant Saunders, she transferred to the 7th 19th Engineer Company last year, and unfortunately, this was her first overseas deployment and regretfully her last. Outside of the military, Specialist Moffett worked as a home care provider, providing essential support to families with disabilities. And even during deployment in a foreign land, her pride and joy was being able to communicate with her family, especially her 8-year-old sister, every day, and they were all looking forward to her returning home to Savannah in July or August. Her awards and decorations include the National Defense Service Medal, the Army Reserve Ribbon, and like her fallen comrades, she was also promoted to the next highest rank after her passing. So forever going forward, she will be known as Sergeant Brianna A. Moffett. Now, there has been several tributes for the fallen service members in their respective hometowns in Georgia. I included this one because it just happened to be sitting in my view as I was preparing this video, and this was from one of the newspapers in Savannah. And as you can see, it mentions that mourners had gathered to pay tribute to Sergeant Breonna Moffett, who was one of the 3 service members killed in Jordan. I want to make sure it's understood this was not an isolated. It's not as if this was the only one. There were memorial services for all of the service members. It just happened that this was the one that was readily available as I was preparing this video. And this picture was from the dignified transfer which took place at Dover Air Force Base in Delaware last Friday. All 3 service members were returned to the U.S. and released to their respective families for funeral plans. And as I was reflecting on this picture, there was indeed a certain degree of sadness, a shared sense of loss, a feeling of helplessness. I don't believe I'll ever understand what it feels like for that casualty assistance officer to show up at your door and notify you as humbly as possible that your loved one was tragically killed in combat. That I will never understand, I will never appreciate, but I certainly do feel the pain and the sense of loss. The helplessness comes from knowing that life and death are so very much entwined in military service. And as uncomfortable as it might seem, there is that realization that there will be other conflicts and other soldiers will die as well. But at the same time, there's that feeling of pride in knowing that a loved one will be forever remembered for making the greatest sacrifice possible and their role in service to their country. And in this instance, whenever there is mention of the 716th Engineering Company, whenever there's mention of that company's history or that battalion's history, 3 names will be attached forever. We offer prayers and words of comfort to the families wherever they might be, and we continue to pray for safety and protection of our soldiers both at home and abroad. And to our 3 fallen warriors, Staff Sergeant William J. Rivers, Sergeant Brianna A. Moffett, and Sergeant Kennedy L. Saunders, your mission is finally complete. So rest well, my friends, and thank you for your service. And that's all I have for you right now. Feel free to leave me a comment below and let me know what you think about this video. And by all means, feel free to like it and to share it. And if you haven't done so already, I want to invite you to subscribe to my channel by clicking on that red subscribe button. It's on the bottom right-hand corner of your screen. And if you click on the bell that looks just like this one, that's the notification bell. If you click on that notification bell, you'll be the first to know whenever a new video is uploaded. I thank you for watching, and I'll talk to you soon. Bye.